Installing a power steering pump and serpentine belt on an LS3 engine. Now Dylan is removing a plug that was apparently just included for shipping. And the next thing he needs to do is attach this 6AN adapter assembly to the power steering pump. Now what we found is the Bando fitting would not line up with the hole on the pump. So Dylan is having to try to bend this thing to be a little bit wider so that the holes will line up. Next, Dylan will grab a flange head bolt and get it started in the back of the pump to hold that assembly to the pump. And the bending that he did make enough difference that the hole will now line up. So he's going to slide a crush washer underneath the Bando fitting, put a crush washer on top of the Bando fitting, and bring a Bando bolt down through it that has a metric Allen head. He will hand start it and run it in as far as he can, and then he will torque this bolt to 25 foot-pounds. The back bolt will be torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Now Dylan's going to go ahead and attach the power steering pump to the engine. There are 3 M8 by 30 flange head bolts. Each one goes into a slotted opening on that water pump. They're slightly slotted, and that gives the pump the ability to rotate just a little bit, which is used for adjusting the distance from the power steering reservoir to the alternator. As you can see, Dylan is adjusting the position there a little bit of the power steering pump. And what I'm pointing out is that that gap between the reservoir and the alternator is supposed to be between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch. So Dylan's adjusting the clocking of the power steering pump to get the distance that we're supposed to get between the reservoir and the alternator. And he's just hand tightening those bolts so that we can lock that adjustment in. And now he's coming back with the torque wrench to torque each of these bolts to 18 foot-pounds. This is the pulley installer that we're going to use to install the pulley onto the power steering pump. It's an Evertough 67010. It's an O'Reilly loaner tool that we were able to borrow for free. Looking inside the kit, there are a number of different attachments, but the only one that we're going to use is the one on the left. Here is the power steering pump pulley that came with our Holley mid-mount engine accessory kit. The part number is 97-152. Here was a minor nick on the edge of that brand new pulley. And here was a little bit more serious nick on the edge of that same pulley. This nick would likely have damaged our serpentine belt. Here is the weight of the original pulley, 15.8 ounces. I contacted Holley about the nicks, and this is the replacement pulley that they sent me. As you can see, it weighs 1 pound, 11.4 ounces. The pulley will be installed to where this side faces out, and this side faces back towards the pump. Dylan's just going to ease that pulley into place and start the pulley installer by hand in the center shaft of the pump. And he's just going to run it in as far as he can by hand. And that's all that he has to do. Then the second part that actually pushes on the pulley is run up against the pulley, first by hand. And then while holding that center bolt still, he's going to go ahead and tighten the part that pushes on the pulley all the way until it stops. There will be a certain point at which it just hits a hard stop. And then the next thing he will do is back that part of the installer off. He's backing it way off so you can see what the front edge of the pulley looks like. The front edge of the pulley and the front edge of that center shaft are both equally sticking out. So neither one sticks out further than the other. They're perfectly aligned. Now we're going to take a look from the side and just see that everything the belt will run on is all lined up. The Bando 6PK1715 Serpentine belt comes with the Holley kit. Now, at long last, it is time to install the Serpentine belt. The order at which you loop the belt over the accessories is not important, but the instructions do say to leave something smooth to slide it onto last. In Dylan's case, he left the tensioner, which he's releasing right now, as the last thing to slide the belt onto. He's using a 1/2-inch drive ratchet to release the tension, just long enough to slip the belt over it. He'll pull that ratchet off, and the installation is done. And here's a look at how the tensioner is doing its job. Looks like it's doing good. Thank you so much for watching. Making custom hoses for our 1980 Camaro is next.